Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and it's my honor to convene this daily conversation around all things COVID-19. We talk about three crises: the health, financial, and inequality crises, and we're always looking for theme suggestions, speaker suggestions, and more. Please email me, sree@sree.net. Today is episode 189. That's right, we've been on the air for 189 days in a row. No vacations, no holidays, no time off for coronavirus. And tonight we have a very special episode for you. We're talking Good Trouble. We're talking with Dawn Porter at Dawn Porter M, director of John Lewis Good Trouble, johnlewisgoodtrouble.com, the award-winning filmmaker of The Way I See It, Gideon's Army, Bobby Kennedy for President, and more. Please tag this so your friends and family can join us. Please hit share. Everyone you know will want to see this, will want to learn from Dawn as I'm about to learn from her. You'll meet her in just a couple of minutes. Please tag, please share. We're live right now on multiple channels, and we will be live, and you will be able to see the recording immediately after we're done. We'll bring Dawn on in just a couple of minutes. Hi, everyone. I'm Sree. Thank you so much for being here. I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism and the co-founder of Digimentors, a social, digital, and virtual events consulting company. Our motto: don't cancel your event without talking to us, and don't even start planning your virtual event before you talk to us. My email address is right here, sree@sree.net. We've done events for 50 people and events for 100,000 people. We bet your event is somewhere between those two numbers. First, we want to tell you more about this show. In the first 175 episodes, we've had 1 million plus viewers, 129 million social impressions, 316 guests, 185 of them women, from 63 cities and 17 countries, including the chief scientist of the World Health Organization. We can do this because we're live on Scroll Global and Scroll.in. Please check them out and find our archives at youtube.com/Sreenet, youtube.com/Sreenet. And a big shout out to our producers, Rose Horowitz at Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon. And a big shout out today to Stefan Kaplan for helping us bring Dawn to our show tonight. We are very excited to have her here. We're also able to do the show because of our sponsors, and we want to thank them very quickly. Nunbelievable.com, divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Each handcrafted cookie provides meal to those in need. One cookie equals one meal, 20% off with the code SREE. A big thank you also to The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention by Charles Cunnincarroll, developer of more than 80 patents, at Inventor Charles, guide to invention.com. And we also want to thank Fundamentals of Social Media and Muckrack Academy. They helped me put together this free on-demand certification course, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. Please check it out. More than 4,000 people have taken this course, and so should you. And a final hello and thank you to Rise or Fall Together, the OneShare.World Interdependence Summit, which takes place on Thursday at 9 a.m. to noon, free. You can sign up. OneShare.World, the Secretary General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Renee Fleming, the famous opera singer, Eric Garcetti, the mayor of LA, and Michelle Williams, the Dean of Faculty of the Harvard Chan School of Public Health, will all be there, among so many other guests, all put together by my friend Jamie Metzel. Are you ready to talk about John Lewis and talk about the amazing documentary John Lewis, Good Trouble? Then you're at the right place. We're going to meet Dawn Porter in just a minute. We're bringing her on. We're so grateful to her for finding time. She spends her day going from one show and talk to another, and we were able to snag her to join us here tonight. So let me say hello to Dawn. Thank you so much, Dawn. How are you? Oh, I think we got you muted there.
You would think after 9,000 Zooms, I would unmute, but we're all in it together. So thank
Yeah.
you for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here and quite impressed. I'm going to get a cookie.
Yes, we have to send you cookies. Yes, we absolutely must. I am so grateful that you're here. My first question always is, how are you? Where are you? And how's your family doing through the pandemic?
Thank you for asking. We are in Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts. Our family has had a big change due to COVID. We were formerly in San Francisco. My husband works for Google, and we made a life change. We came here. We now are in a house in the woods, and it's a very peaceful place. We're grateful and lucky to be able to survive through the pandemic in this place that includes nature. We are also, I'm really grateful that my mother is here. My nephew has come to visit. So trying to, make lemonade out of a big fat lemon.
Are you finding yourself suddenly very popular?
Very popular. If you have a house at a beach community, you get very popular. But we've had a quiet summer, but it's been a really intentional summer. I put in a garden. It's actually been a nice distraction for me. My world is so much filming and traveling. Not being able to travel has freed up a lot of time. And I released 2 movies during this time. So I would say I'm busy as ever, and I'm lucky I'm able to continue working during this period.
That's what I say. We're all of us who can work, even if we're not working at your level of excellence. We are so grateful that we have the opportunity, and our hearts go out to everyone who, millions of people have lost their jobs. Millions of people are in deep economic and health trouble. And we were kept being told before this that we're the greatest economy of all time. And we know that more than 40% of Americans didn't have money to write an extra $400, $500 expense. That's how razor thin the greatest economy was treating 40% of Americans. So after that, things are so much worse. And that's what we try to cover here, Don. And we are just so grateful that you would be with us and to spend time with us here today. So I know everybody wants to talk about John Lewis, Good Trouble. And why don't we start by just telling us about the film? We'll see a trailer. Why don't you set up the trailer for us, and then we'll talk about the film.
Sure. I spent more than a year filming with the congressman. I, like most people, knew some parts of his story, but I wouldn't say that I knew his full story. I didn't know the details of how much he prepared for those iconic moments that we're familiar with, that he studied Gandhi, that he studied philosophy. And so this film is really a way to add some context and to give kind of a fuller picture of a man that many people think they know and many people love.
Yeah, and so much to his story too, right? Nuances and things that people don't know.
Absolutely. And, when you have a person like John Lewis, who was kind of a legend living among us, people tend to, not focus on, his current contributions or before he passed. And so what the film does is talks about his history and about some of the iconic moments we know about facing troopers on the Selma Bridge or speaking at the March on Washington, being the youngest person to speak at the March on Washington and delivering, a really rousing speech, or leading the freedom rides during the 1960s to integrate places of public accommodation. So the film really takes us through that history, but then also discusses how that history informs his life as a congressman and the legislation that he championed.
And we are going to see a clip. I guess we'll see the trailer of the film, and you'll tell us all about it. So let's take a look at the film's trailer. It's called John Lewis, Good Trouble.
My philosophy is very simple. When you see something that is not right, not fair, Not just say something, do something. Get in trouble. Good trouble, necessary trouble.
He was always different than every member of Congress. Everybody knew what he had done. He was John Lewis.
We're marching today to dramatize to the world that hundreds and thousands of Negro citizens denied the right to vote.
Congressman Lewis gave us the blueprint to organize and to legislate.
The reason why he's effective as a leader is because he's lived it.
We made a decision to march in an orderly, peaceful, nonviolent fashion from Selma to Montgomery.
Ordered to disperse that march will not continue.
I was hit in the head. My knees went from under me. I thought I was going to down the bridge.
If John Lewis, as a 19, 20-year-old, wasn't doing what he did, I would not be here.
We will march with the spirit of love and with the spirit of dignity that we have shown here today.
The whole time he was in the movement, it was frightening, knowing the danger, knowing what could happen.
You cannot replace a John Lewis.
He's the most courageous person I ever met.
Too many people struggled and died to make it possible for every American to exercise their right to vote.
He challenges the conscience of the Congress.
Bring common sense. We're going forward.
Wow. I guess they're just playing other Magnolia films here, so we'll pause that there. But tell us, what's it like? You've seen this obviously so many times. Do you catch yourself catching new things? Do you wish that one shot had been held a little longer? How do you feel about it?
I do see new things in it, but also, the whole project is so much more poignant and meaningful for me, since he passed away. I mean, we finished the film in late November. We had no idea that he was ill. He was diagnosed in December. And so, the entire film was really meaningful to everybody involved. And I also was so grateful to be able to spend so much time with him. We were able to travel with him. We were able to see him at work and at home. And none of that would have been possible had he been, ill or, had he not been with us. So I do see new things. I hear new things. I revel in the music in this film. Was really one of the most extraordinary experiences I had. It was the composer who worked with Dee Rees on her film Mudbound. She is an African-American woman of Gullah Geechee origins, and I asked her to write a modern spiritual. And because I wanted to connect John Lewis of the past that we were familiar with the John Lewis of the present, I wanted to tie those things together. And every time I hear the trailer and I watch the film, I'm just reminded of how beautifully our composer Tamar Kali was able to create that bridge for us. So yeah, I see new things all the time, and I'm always self-critical. I'm always like, oh, I wish, but I'm not going to tell you my wishes because then you're going to see them too.
I know we when I rewatch even my little show here, I'm always noticing things, and we're always our greatest critics, of course. Yeah. And I just want to show you that Joan Mooney says, "Great to see you, Don. Looking forward to watching the new documentary. More necessary trouble," she says.
Joan is just a gift to humanity. Joan organizes. She's the executive in charge of that takes people on a pilgrimage every other year, a congressional pilgrimage that John Lewis led for many, many years, where he would take members of Congress and invited guests and lead them through his seminal march from Montgomery to Selma. Joan's work is such a gift to all of us. So I am thrilled that you are here, Joan. I know how busy you are, and she is a civil rights legend on her own. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And all legends are always welcome on our show. So we'd love to have to hear more about that and maybe have her on our show one day. Folks, if you're watching right now, Dawn Porter's with us. She's the filmmaker who made the awesome new film, John Lewis, Good Trouble. And she is live with me. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Please share with your friends and family. Everybody can watch this now or later. As soon as we're done with this, she'll come right back and play. Dawn, Damon Brown, who was a guest on Sunday night, says, greetings. Love continuing the Good Trouble conversation. Appreciate you, Dawn Porter. He's a best-selling author, entrepreneur, and coach, and he's got a big new book coming out in the spring. So everyone, make sure you say hi to Damon. Pradnya is watching. Ola from Silver Spring, Maryland. As I mentioned cities, if you have any favorite memories, maybe not of Silver Spring, but of nearby Washington or other cities, feel free to jump in. People also tell us if a place is on their bucket list, until somebody said, I don't want to use the word bucket list, I want to use the word life list, because bucket list, of course, has that connotation. If in terms of what was it like to spend so much time with him, after I hear your story, I'm going to tell the story of how I spent only part of an evening with him, and I felt like he was my best friend.
Yeah. I had interviewed the congressman before, so he graciously appeared in my very first film, Gideon's Army, where he addressed a group of very young public defenders, and he really motivated them, and he told them the story about how lawyers were so key to the civil rights movement, how lawyers got him and the other civil rights workers out of jail, how they kept them alive. And it just meant the world, his generosity in speaking to those young lawyers and making that connection and telling them that they matter. And that's what I saw about Mr. Lewis over and over again, is he would seek connections with people, and he would seek opportunities to explain to them how their lives and their work and their actions were mattering and were contributing to a better society. So just he was fun, he was funny, he was a great Southern gentleman, a great host. I remember we went to his house. It was a Saturday morning, and I said, Mr. Lewis, this is going to be our relaxed Saturday filming. And so we opened the door, and he's there. He's all dressed up, and he's got like a V-neck cashmere sweater on. And I said, Mr. Lewis, this is casual. And he said, I don't have a tie on. But he'd also, Southern gentleman, he had gotten us muffins and donuts. He liked to go to Costco. He just welcomed me and my crew and our team into his life. I think he was really thinking about his legacy at this point. And so I think he was ready to tell his story. And so I think we had some mutual appreciation. He just was very open and generous and kind. Sometimes you're not sure you want to meet your heroes because they might disappoint you. And with Mr. Lewis, he exceeded my expectations. I've never met a more consistently patient and open and just a content person. There was a contentment about him that I think it came from, he lived his values. He says in the film that he lost fear on that bridge, and he decided at that moment that he was never going to turn back. He was always going to speak his truth. And I think living without that fear of retribution, I think that really allowed him to live a very, very full life.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about this and hearing you talk about him, because he is truly not, we say civil rights icon, we say African-American icon, American icon, global icon, a man who was also very confident in himself, right? Like imagine knowing your legacy and calling into the New York Times and dictating basically, your final
I love that. That is so Mr. Lewis. That is such a final mic drop. He will always have the last word. I think it's important to point out how much he studied in order to live the life that he lived. He studied the peace movement. He studied Gandhi's work. And he was very, very influenced, particularly by Gandhi. And coming to a philosophy of nonviolence as the way forward for civil improvement, he devoted his life to that work, and I think that that is something that we can all kind of look to and study. I mean, he made a very careful study of philosophy and philosophers and religion, and decided this is the way he wanted to live his life. And I think because of it, he was a very satisfied person.
Amazing. And here's that op-ed that if you haven't read, even if you at least should know the story, that he called Katie Kingsbury, the opinion editor of the New York Times, and said, I'm ready to talk to you. And this is the headline: "Together, you can redeem the soul of our nation. Though I am gone, I urge you to answer the highest calling of your heart and stand up for what you truly believe." Think of so much of the rhetoric that we hear in this country doesn't sound like that. And the only thing that I get caught up on is he said, together you can redeem, because he knew he wasn't going to be there anymore. Otherwise, he would have said, together we can redeem. And it's just, I'm feeling very emotional. And does that happen when you're talking about John Lewis to other people who feel?
Oh, no, it's happening now. It was very hard to. I have a hard time talking about him in the past tense because somebody pointed out to me that when you make a film about somebody, you try your best to inhabit their thinking. I studied videos of him. I studied all of his speeches, every piece of archive that I could find. And this was, a 2-year exercise. And so, to not have him around is still kind of astounding to me that he's not here. I am very grateful that he was able to see the film, and even more important, he was able to see the response. So
I didn't know that. I was going to ask if he had seen the film, so thank you for telling us that. So tell us, were you watching him or watching the film? Were you like,
I was completely watching him. So it was Valentine's Day 2019, and I flew to 2020, sorry. I flew to Washington, D.C. I was living in California at the time. And we had planned a big celebration and a screening, and he was ill and he wasn't able to travel. So I took the movie to him, and, I went to his house in Washington, D.C. He lived in one of those beautiful row houses near the Congress. And I just flipped open my laptop and I sat next to him and we watched it together. And, we both got kind of teary, and he kept saying, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And I said, Mr. Lewis, your life, is powerful. So, we finished the film, and then we just had a visiting, we just had an afternoon of just talking for a couple of hours, and he was having a good day. So he was, happy to just spend some time and talk. And that is the last time I saw him. So that was, pretty emotional memory for me.
Wow. Did he give you any notes?
Not any notes. And I was super nervous. I mean, it's always hard to show a subject, the film, because we've been working on it for so long. I have to say, he never once asked me what we were doing, how it was going. He just knew, when we would call up and say, could we do this? And the answer was always yes. Yes, you can come to Troy. I'll meet you. Yes, you can come to my house at 8 a.m. Yes, you can film me. Just the most gracious subject. And, it's something that'll be with me forever. Like the experience of being around him. And, I think I'll always try and live up to his trust.
Incredible. We want to just say hello to people who are watching from all over the world, including from New Jersey. Apollo's watching on LinkedIn from Montclair, New Jersey, but he joined our show. He joined our show.
Montclair for 16 years, so I love Montclair.
Oh, awesome! And Apollo was living in Vegas till a week ago, and then he took a train and moved to Montclair. So we talked about Vegas under COVID. You tell us a family-friendly or at least PG-friendly story you can tell us about Vegas.
Me?
Yes, you.
In high school, I won a pack your bags party where the trip was to Vegas. And so I went with a friend who was not my boyfriend. And we had a pretty amazing time. If you can imagine two, 20-year-olds going and getting free food and hotel and some chips in Vegas for 2 days. We were just like, and no one was at the pool. That's what I remember, is that everyone was inside gambling and no one was at the pool, and it was a beautiful day. So for college students who were broke, free food, free booze, and a pool, it was like one of the best vacations I've ever had.
Very cool. Jonathan's watching from the East Village. A favorite New York memory?
Well, I mean, I was born in New York and raised in New York, so I'm a real New Yorker. I think I have too many to share, but one of them is in high school. I went to Bronx Science, and we walked from the Bronx all the way down to the West Village. So if you know New York, that is going from one tip to the other. With a group of friends, and it was something only 16-year-olds would do, and we would stop and eat, and it was just like, what a way to see New York by foot. New York is such a walking city, but to walk from one tip to the other, like, I don't know why we thought that was an amazing idea. It took us all day, but we had a great day.
There is a way to walk around the perimeter of Manhattan. People do that as a thing. My kid brother, now not a kid anymore, went to Bronx Science, and it's a terrific school. Obviously, Nobel laureates and others have come from that school. So that's the base that you had to build your career on, which is just awesome to hear. Sunil has one word, wow, and so many other comments are coming in. We're just so grateful to everybody. Daryl says he's watching from Richmond Hill, Queens, where I'm working to improve the census numbers. Do your census, folks.
Yeah, so important, so important. And I did a great panel today with the Dallas Mavericks, and they had a really interesting and knowledgeable speaker who was assuring people that your information is not shared with ICE or with other government entities. So please fill out the census and get the resources for your community. So I'm so glad you raised that.
Thank you, Daryl, for saying that. My mom is watching from Kerala, India. Have you been?
I have never been to India, and I am so excited to go. I'm really interested in going to Goa. But of course, so my husband has been to India a number of times. Shamefully, all I can say is I'm a big Indian food fan. But it's definitely on our list of places to go together. Like, he's a big fan. He's been to India several times.
Well, if you go, please let us know, because it's a huge filmmaking place, not just Bollywood films, but documentaries, serious documentaries. And I know there are people there who'd love to host you and talk about your work. So please let us know if you ever get to go.
The movie, the film community in India, is this talent that is coming from India is astounding. And I'm working on a project right now, and we're able, really easily to find spectacular directors who are going to be filming in the north of India, but also I think a little bit in Delhi. So yeah, a lot of talent, a very, kind of sophisticated film market, and just I wish if it were not for COVID, we would have been able to go. But the silver lining is we found a great local director who's going to do a terrific job with some stories that we're filming there.
Terrific, and look forward to hearing more. Joan says, what an honor to have you document it as you talk about the film. Ashok says, is really waiting for the film. I guess it's available in theaters and at home. How does that all work?
The film now is available on Amazon and iTunes, and so easy to find. And then our CNN broadcast is going to be later this month. So you can see it there. The first night, I believe, is without commercial. So I would encourage you to view that first night if you don't see it before. But we're extremely excited and thrilled to have CNN as our home base partner. It was the executives of CNN who came to me who had this idea for this film. And so, this film does not exist without Amy Entellus and and her team, Courtney and Alex, Courtney Sexton and Alex Hannibal, a great team of women who are great broadcasters and have amazing taste. And I just, they made this dream come true, like having this film. So it will be on CNN in September. Please watch.
Amy Entellus is awesome. If you get a chance, please say hello. Big fan of her. And so many other comments coming in, including Daryl saying John Lewis was both a legitimate hero and the ultimate social justice warrior, an example for all of us to live by. Beautifully put. Lots of comments coming in here from various people. Rachel Cooper is watching from Broadway on the Upper West Side in New York City. And Kalpana says, what a great man. So happy I tuned in today. And Rick says, if we work for truth and equity, we can reduce the need for justice. Perhaps we should change social justice warrior to equity warrior. And Rick says, to live in hearts is never to die. And Ashok says, the conversation so far has been very emotional. And Mark Lee is here saying hello from Durham, North Carolina. Big time fan of filmmakers. And Mark was on our show to talk about how non-African Americans can be allies of Black folks, and he gave us lots of great advice. One of the things that we do talk about is that, do you find that at this moment, with all that's going on with the fight for racial justice, there's a kind of awakening? How much is that of the awakening do you recognize as something that is truly groundbreaking and changing, and how much are you a little more skeptical of?
I think it is groundbreaking, and I Mr. Lewis was able to see this before he passed away. And I know that he thought it was groundbreaking. I mean, when you think about it, when he was a teenager, in Nashville, it was a handful of students who were taking on this calcified system of segregation. They were following in the steps of some of the adults who were 30 plus, but it was really the students who made that last push that desegregated a system of segregation that had been in place for 100 years. So, but when he was marching and protesting, they were in the minority, and now we see protesters not only in all 50 states but around the world, and that worldwide call for equality, call for a better system of justice that recognizes so many people. I think that this does feel different. I'm so grateful, not grateful, I'm so thrilled to see that this is a multiracial and multicultural decision, and that we are including many more people. This is not a black-white issue. This is a humanity issue. And I think that this movement is recognizing and celebrating that. So I think this is different.
So many comments coming in here. Kayla Stang says, hello from Long Island. I can't wait to watch your film, John Lewis, Good Trouble, the second this interview is over. So we should finish up so she can start watching. But everybody go out and please get this film. You can find it on iTunes. You can find it on Amazon. And what about worldwide? Is it available on those platforms, or are there some other kind of rights issues and things?
No, it's available internationally. I think it makes its international debut at the end of the month. I know in Europe, Sky is distributing the film, and I think we have more announcements to come. So stay tuned.
Excellent. And now I just want to show everybody a little bit of my connection, my very tiny connection to Mr. Lewis, where you can see my Twitter bio photo has been of Mr. Lewis since the day he was sick. I mean, the day he passed, I'm sorry to say. And if you remember that moment, there was like some uncertainty whether he had actually passed or not. And it was very emotional that night. And the next day, we did an entire 2-hour block on my radio show on WBAI, listener-supported WBAI 99.5 FM in New York. We did a whole 2 hours on Congressman Lewis. And this photo was taken about 8 years ago when he came. You mentioned lawyers. He came to the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund annual gala. He was being honored for his work and his legacy, and he loved lawyers. And just what you described, it was really something to see him talk to them and connect with them. And the other part of this that I'll never forget is I told him that I'm a journalism professor, and he said, "Thank you for teaching journalists. Without them, we couldn't have done what we did," meaning what he was able to do in the 60s, that coverage that he got. And that was how quickly we connected. I was the MC of this dinner with Juju Chang, the great Juju Chang, journalist. And so we were kind of around each other for those 2 hours. But he made me feel in those, I don't know, might have been 90 seconds. He made me feel like I really mattered and that he really cared. I'm sure you saw him do that with other people.
I saw that all the time. I mean, from how he made me feel to, we learned very quickly that we would have to spend extra time in the airport because he would greet each and every person who came up to him. He would give them his full attention, and just he understood that meeting him was special. And he wanted to honor that. And, I learned so much from that about how such a small, simple act of generosity could mean so much to people. And I think that, when we're in such tough and really, divisive times, like thinking about something so small as like honoring a person with a sincere thank you and looking them in the eye and giving them just a moment of your time, like what a big difference that made for so many people. So that's why in the film we have like a little sequence that actually is a montage because it happens so many times that we just cut together some of our favorite reactions. But everywhere we would go, people would say, "John Lewis, John Lewis." And he just, would say, thank you, which is so kind. And I think so many people have a John Lewis story because of that.
And think about so many celebrities who are so stuck up and haven't done a quarter of what he's done to help the world, or even less. Just today, I was struck by someone I know who answered an email. It wasn't that important an email. We're going to meet anyway in a couple of days, but took the time to write an acknowledgement. And I thought, think about, this is one of the busiest people on earth, and making that time. That's those kind of good manners that don't go away no matter how big you get. Damon Brown, who's on our show, said that Will Smith said that fame magnifies who you are. It doesn't change you, it magnifies who you are. So if you were a bad person or ill-mannered, once you get fame, you become even more ill-mannered. If you're a good person at heart, fame, you just become, you can help a lot more people than you could if you were not so famous. So that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah.
Ashok is watching in Kerala. It says lots of magazines here feature John Lewis's life and messages. And Mark says, has Don ever shown a film at Full Frame or the Haiti Heritage Center in Durham?
I have. My first film, Gideon's Army, was opening night at Full Frame one year.
Oh, okay.
And I believe my film Trapped was there. And this year we had a normal year. I'm sure John Lewis, and I have a new film coming out. It's called The Way I See It. It's about President Obama's White House photographer, Peter Sousa. And we had quite an abbreviated schedule, but I love Full Frame. I love the programmers at Full Frame. I've guest taught at the Student Mentoring Center. It's a very special festival with spectacular programming. And I love Full Frame because you can really, documentary makers are, and people who love documentary film, we have our own little micro community. And in a place like Full Frame, you can really meet people and talk with one another and see films and go to conferences. And it's really not stressful, and there's good barbecue, and it's just a good time. So everyone should go to Full Frame. Please support them.
You got me at the good barbecue. Forget the good films. You got me at that. Ashok says, welcome to Kerala after the crisis is over with the film. So there you go. I told you people invite you. Mark is reminding us, get out and vote too. Make John Lewis proud and make good trouble. Before we go, we will show a website that Don wants us all to know about. Give us the URL now and we'll go to the website.
makegoodtrouble.com. It is created by our friends at Participant Media. There you can donate to nonprofits that are helping to secure the vote. You can also check your voter status, and you can see what the requirements are for voting, whether there's voter ID requirements or things like that. It's an interactive platform. So hopefully it's one of, a few resources for you as we all figure out how to make good trouble.
Love that. So please check out makegoodtrouble.com and check that out. Anita is watching from Chennai, wonderful friend and wonderful dancer. And Mark says, did you see the news today about the city of Louisville giving Breonna's family a settlement? Breonna Taylor, whose name, by the way, we say almost every night on the show. We asked Kimberly Crenshaw, the great Columbia Law School professor who coined the term intersectionality, what should we do? And she said, say their name, say her name. And so Breonna's name we say. So I don't know if you had a chance to follow the news at all, but if you want to just tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a bittersweet, it's not sweet at all. It's money does not bring back a person who has departed. My hope is that her family will be taken care of, but also that the police department, if they're not motivated by what's right, will be motivated by not, having to pay these damages. It's a significant settlement.
Was the number mentioned? I'm sorry.
I think it's $12 million. Yeah. So it's a very significant amount of money. I of course, I wish her family all the peace that they can find, but what a tragic situation that the taxpayers of, are paying for the wrongs of the police department. And let's this young woman was at the cusp of, changes in her life, and her family will never know, and she will never be able to experience all the things that were ahead of her. So, if anything, I hope that this settlement sends a message to other police departments that if, you can't win people with what's right, maybe the hammer will help. So I just wish her family as much peace as is possible. I know how horrific it would feel for me if I lost someone I loved, particularly in that matter.
Thank you. Leah Chang says, Ms. Porter, your film is remarkable, and I'm grateful that you were able to capture such an intimate portrait of such a special man.
Thank you.
And I'll just show you that Leah is an amazing photographer and actress herself. And this is the set of pictures she took in 2013, where I was as well. And so you'll recognize the John Lewis in a crowd, the John Lewis backstage, the John Lewis taking pictures. And here he is with Jose Antonio Vargas, who many of you know is a champion for undocumented immigrants. And there's a great photo. BD Wong is in the front there, as you can see. And you can see I'm barely in the frame, but I was so happy.
There too.
Yeah, Juju is there, and the great Margaret Fung is there. This is just amazing. And this was that day, and there's BD Wong, and just love these pictures. And there's David Henry Wong. And one of the things, this was at the height, I can tell you, of Gangnam Style. You remember that? Psy. And so he actually did a little, like there was a little bit of DJ music, and he actually did the dance. Yeah, he did. Wait, hold on. I'm going to pull back. So the director in me is pulling back here, so you can do the. You can see.
I can't do it. I won't do it. I won't. You know, I've embarrassed my children enough by that little 10 seconds. So, but I did love that dance. I got it.
One of our awesome producers, Rose Horowitz, says, so excited to meet Don. Follow Rose Horowitz 31 Vandana Menon. They're tweeting right now. And Don Porter's Twitter handle is Don Porter M. Tell us about the M.
The M is for Michelle, and I'm named for my father's younger sister, who was my babysitter and who is only 10 years older than I am. So she's more like a sister to me than an aunt. So.
Oh, awesome. That is so cool. And here's Eddie asking, did Mr. Lewis sustain any long-lasting brain injuries from the skull fracture he sustained during a protest march? And he's watching from Hamilton Heights.
Yeah, there was never any mention of that. And he certainly, you know, was one of the smartest and most strategic people. So I never heard anything about headaches or anything like that. He was pretty grievously injured, you know, not just there, multiple times. You know, but, you know, not to my knowledge, not in any way that impaired his ability, you know, to live a life, a very productive. Mr. Lewis was the most energetic person I have ever filmed. My cameramen were begging me for a break when we were filming him. You know, two like burly kind of like big guys, and they literally said, like, is he going to take a break? Like, I have to put this camera down. And I was like, you got to pick it up, because if he's going, we're going. So we like went sirens and everything, like racing through town, and his you know, and he got out and we filmed him going to 5 churches like in a couple hours. Like, he just was such an energizer bunny. So if there was any impairment, I didn't see any evidence of it whatsoever.
Mark says we lost some great ones like John Lewis and John Hope Franklin. And look at this. I wasn't kidding about the invitations. My mom says, welcome to Kerala. It'd be nice to see you here. She doesn't extend a lot of invitations. Ashok is much more generous with invitations, but my mom really likes you and likes the film, so she's inviting you. And Shobana, another good friend, is watching in Queens and says, kudos to Don Porter from a proud fellow Bronx Science alum. So.
We are small but mighty.
Yeah. So we have just a few minutes left. I promised you that it would be about 30, 40 minutes, and here we are already past that. I do want to talk about your other new film. How do you do this? First of all, what was the timing of this? How did that happen? Like, why? And then how?
Yeah.
Then, what were you thinking?
Yeah. You know, the John Lewis movie was supposed to come out in April. And then be on much earlier, and because of the pandemic, you know, the schedule got pushed. So they are twins in a way that we did not plan. But you know, I'm okay with that. We had finished the John Lewis movie, so it was really about pushing it out there and doing press and getting the word out about it. And people found the movie. You know, and then he passed away, and then people really found the movie. And so this movie is about Pete Sousa. He was the White House photographer for President Reagan, and also 8 years he was the chief White House photographer for President Obama. He took 2 million photos while he was in the Obama White House, and he's kind of on a mission now to say what we need in a leader is empathy, intelligence, a work ethic, and compassion. And so it kind of goes without saying that that's not what we have right now. And so by the example of the remarkable photos that he took, we see an example of leadership, compassion, and empathy that we once have, and that we hope that we will soon have again.
So what I'd like to do now is to show the this trailer, and I'm just going to hit play on it, and we'll take a look.
I know what happens in the Oval Office, and that's what scares me. I come at this from a very unique perspective, not just having been a journalist, but also having worked for 2 different presidents.
Hey, folks, it's Loeb.
Pete was with the president all the time.
Unlike his predecessor, Mr. Trump does not allow his staff photographer to capture photographs of life and work inside the White House.
If you just stacked up the images of the Obama presidency and the Trump presidency, you would see the 2 stories of America in the starkest possible contrast.
The job of the chief official White House photographer is to make authentic photographs.
Photographs break down the idea that these people are somehow different from us.
I've got an idea for another picture. Did you get that piece?
Yeah. The first time that we went to the UN, he and Reggie Love played basketball. At one point, President Obama blocks Reggie's shot, and he goes, "Did you get that block?" When Barack Obama was elected, I could see what he meant to the African-American community. This 5-year-old kid asked Obama, "Is my haircut just like yours?" President Obama bent over and let that kid touch his head with his hand.
That image stands for how kids will see themselves differently forever.
I thought, who is this man? How does he deal with crises? Leadership, character, and empathy. Don't you wish we had that now?
When I first met Pete, his politics were not at all evident. Pete changed. He could no longer be this fly on the wall.
Pete Souza is getting attention online with replies to President Trump's tweets.
I had to speak out. I knew how the job should be done.
Pete felt the urgency to show what the office can be. This was a 911.
Reagan and Obama respected the dignity of the office. The presidency is a serious job, and I was going to do everything I could to make sure people didn't forget that.
Do you have a picture for every single thing that Donald Trump has lied about with Barack Obama?
Pretty much.
Lovely. So I guess we now need a second hour with Don to to talk about that film. Tell us about that, because it's incredible, and I can't wait to see it.
So Pete has a one-man show that he does where it's very simple concept. He just chooses photographs that he took during both the Obama and the Reagan administrations, and then he talks about the photos. He talks about what he saw. He talks about how he grew as a person, as a photographer, as a political person. After he left the White House, after Trump ascended to the White House, he was really worried about, the integrity of American government. And so he's gotten increasingly more political. He has an Instagram feed. If you follow Pete Souza on Instagram, he has 2 million followers. And he likes to do, what people call throwing shade a lot of times when Trump does something kind of crazy, he'll post a picture of President Reagan or President Obama being presidential. And so he's really gotten very outspoken. And I think that, Pete's an example of what John Lewis was talking about. If you see something that's not right, not fair, not just, say something, do something, get in the way, get in good trouble. And Pete is getting in good trouble. So I actually love the way these films speak to each other, because what John Lewis was talking about, that's what Pete's doing. So it was not easy to finish it during the COVID, but we were kind of committed to getting it out, before the election. And so that's what we did.
It's an act of good trouble in itself, getting it out before the election. So I commend you on that. And we'll ask you for your help to see if we can get Pete on our show to talk more about the film. You said it's coming out this Friday, right? So that's, I know it's not easy to promote these films and things in the middle of the pandemic. We have authors who have the same situation, but these films are so important. We urge you all to watch both of them if you can. Leslie Lucas Gallagher says hello.
Leslie! Life is good when your friends from camp show up. So.
And Amar is a very important question. How are we going to see The Way I See It with Pete Souza? Will it be in theaters? Can we get it on Prime? Lots of questions here.
Yeah, The Way I See It is going to be in theaters that are open, socially distant, and safe. And then it will be on MSNBC Films. It will be the inaugural film for MSNBC Films. They have not had a film department, feature film department, so this will be their first film. It'll be on after Rachel Maddow, I believe on October 9th. So
that'll get a big debut and big viewership.
Yeah,
that's very, very exciting. So we wanted to, before we let you go, somebody wanted to come on to say hello to you, someone who brought us together, our good friend Stefan Kaplan, and he's right here. And hi, Stefan.
Hi, Stefan.
Hey, John. Oh man, I'm so happy you came on. To talk with Sree. I tell you, from the day I met you in Montclair with Rick Bowers, and and then I saw you a couple of other times when you were working on talking about The Spies of Mississippi, which you directed as well. People should know about that. What an amazing film that was, and based on Rick's book. And I have to tell you, this movie about John Lewis, what you've done for the world with this is, it'll always be with us, so thank you for doing that. And I also wanted to say thanks for doing the film on Pete Souza, because, I come from a background of photo editing at the time, 20 years, if you remember. And I met Pete for the first time about right before the pandemic hit.
Oh, wow.
In New York. He was in New York to speak on a thing called the Photo Brigade. A friend of mine, Robert Kaplan, does at Adorama. And I went to go listen to Pete talk about his two books, about the compilation of the millions of photographs that he took, and also the book that he took that I have right here. And he autographed them for me. So I live with these books. I love these books. Shade is such a special book.
Yeah.
So the movie is basically also, talks a lot, I presume, a lot about that, right?
There's a lot of shade in it.
Right. I mean, I read through it, and I don't want to read through it. I'm careful with it because I have it signed and I love it so much. But Pete's just such an amazing photographer,
He's got a great story. And so you'll learn a little bit about his background and, his other jobs. He worked for the Chicago Sun-Times. He worked for National Geographic. I mean, he has done photography at its height. And he and President Obama have a very special relationship. He spent 8 years in the White House with the president, with him almost every day. He took 3 days off during that time. He went on vacation with the president. He was in every room with the president all day long. And so the view that he has and the photos that he make really bring us inside the White House, which is such a rare experience. But, that's what democracy demands. It demands that kind of, journalist's eye. So
that's the special thing about Pete, is that he captured the essence of what the presidency, but more than that, what the man was about,
That's right.
The man that we all now cherish, and we realize, what we had for 8 years, and Pete captured it beautifully. And I tell you, he's, it'll go down in history.
I wait for you to see it.
Oh, I'm popping out of my skin waiting to see it. Sree knows me in photography, so I'm like, but thank you for letting me come on and say hi, Sree.
Thank you, Stefan, and thank you for bringing us together.
Hooking up
that you connected us.
Okay, bye-bye. Take care.
Good to see you.
Okay, bye-bye.
And we'll let you go soon. Diana says, hello from San Francisco. Want to see the documentary for sure. Great topic. And Diana was a guest on our show. She's the Chief Communications Officer for San Mateo County Health. So you can imagine COVID plus
it's a little busy.
Yeah, plus all the forest fires and just horrifying things to see. Mark says, I think your film will go in the legacy of such great films as the documentary about Martin Luther King, as well as one of my favorites, Chisholm 72, about the great African.
Yes.
Is that a documentary you recommend for folks who
Oh,
understand the story?
absolutely, 100%. Shala Lynch is a remarkable filmmaker. She also made the Angela Davis movie, which I highly recommend as well. So,
and Jonathan says, really great show. Documentaries and the director sometimes don't get the respect they deserve. Thank you. And Jane Souza Holstrom says,
Jane!
Great interview.
Jane is Pete's sister, and she hosted us, and she's in the movie, which I don't know that she's seen yet. So looking forward to that. But hi, Jane.
Hi, Jane. Thank you for supporting the film like you did. That's awesome. And I'm trying to tell what the icon picture here. It's a dog I see. Yeah. I'm looking at my dog over here. So before we let you go, if you can talk just for a minute about kind of your final thoughts, what you'd like us to keep in mind. We also have a lot of young students watching. What are your message to them for those who want to make good trouble, want to have an impact on the world? We want them to go to makegoodtrouble.com also. We want them to see your film, but what other advice do you have for them? And may I say that your lighting is incredible. No surprise considering you're a director, but it's really special that how you nailed it, which is not so easy.
And just balanced. I began my career as a lawyer, and so filmmaking was a second career for me. And the reason I did it is because I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to explore topics that were important to me. And so I would just encourage people to follow your dreams because they can come true, and to not be deterred. Being resilient, I think, is one of the strongest skills that you can develop. These films, all of my films are, they're not only, artistic expression. I put myself into them. I cherish and I value whatever you take from them. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you spending time with these remarkable people that I have had the privilege to live with. So thank you for that. Thank you, Sree, for having me. Thank you, Stefan, for being persistent when I told you I was so busy. So this has been really fun.
Thank you so much. Let's remind everybody where they can see the films and where they can learn. So first, the movie John Lewis Good Trouble is now in theaters and on
it's on Amazon.
Sorry,
yeah.
and on
it's actually on most platforms. You can find it on like Google Play. You can find it like a lot of different places, but most people are finding it on Amazon and iTunes. So welcome to see it there. And then The Way I See It is released tomorrow in theaters. It's distributed by Focus Features. So shout out to Focus for supporting us tremendously through this time. And then it will be on MSNBC following Rachel Maddow on October 9th. It will be on at 10 p.m. So please tune in. Tell us what you think.
And that's the Pete Souza film. So 2 films in one summer. So exciting, and we're so delighted and honored you would spend time with us tonight. We wish you the very, very best, and thank you for your time, and good luck. And we feel like we spent an evening in part with greatness through you and your great work and talking about John Lewis. No better way to spend an evening from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rick. Bye. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and all the nice messages. Hi, Leslie.
Was she amazing? Dawn Porter, please follow her, Dawn Porter M. She was just absolutely riveting listening to her. As you all know, you saw that yourself. I'm just so excited that you got a chance to listen to her. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be talking about the pandemic in my first ever lecture after hosting more than 350 speakers and interviewing them. I'm going to give a talk called What Comes Next? Lessons on Digital Innovation 6 months into the Pandemic. And that's tomorrow night. Tomorrow during the day. It's at 9 a.m. Not 9. Why am I saying 9 a.m.? It's at noon Eastern time on Wednesday, September 16th, if you're watching this on recording. And it'll be me reflecting and giving a talk rather than just listening and talking to great people. But I will reflect on what I've learned from so many fascinating speakers And so please join us if you can. To find this, it's pinned to the top of my Twitter feed. It's also on my Facebook. Otherwise, just find me tomorrow at noon, and it'll be live on my various channels as well. Stony Brook and Stony Brook School of Journalism. So please join us. We'd love to have you. And with that, we want to say thank you to everyone who watched. One of the things we do is we say their names. As we told you that Kimberly Crenshaw asked us to say their names. And so that's what I'm going to do. You're looking on the left side, a painting by Titus Kaffer of a mother with a child taken away. And you see the blue glove of the pandemic. On the right is a picture of young Larcinia Floyd with her son, George Floyd. And she would die almost 2 years to the day that he would be killed on camera by a police officer in Minneapolis. And now they're buried together in Houston. And now we will say their names. Trayvon Martin, Yvette Smith, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Laquan McDonald, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Miriam Reed, Natasha McKenna, Eric Harris, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray. I'm going to pause there to say that so many of these names are household names, sadly, but just as sad, many of these names you've never heard before. You know nothing about them, and they are each people with stories, families, loves, and lives. William Chapman, Sandra Bland, Darius Stewart, Samuel DuBose, Janet Wilson, Kaylin Rockmore, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Joseph Mann, Terrence Crutcher, Chad Robertson, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Stefan Clark, Danny Ray Thomas, Antoine Rose, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Michael Dean, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. And today, we especially think of Breonna Taylor, whose family reached a settlement today with the city of Louisville, and after her, the absolutely horrendous shooting of her. If you haven't seen it, there's a New York Times documentary about the killing of Breonna Taylor that is worth watching. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your support. I am so grateful to each and every one of you. For those of you who've told us the show is uplifting, some of you have said the show is a lifeline, this is uplifting and a lifeline for me. Big thank you to our wonderful producers, Rose Horowitz and Vandana Menon, every single day for 189 days. Every single day they've been with me, and we have done the unthinkable for us to be able to put something like this and build a worldwide audience. We have to thank our sponsors also for this, nunbelievable.com, as well as Charles Cunnan Carroll, The Inventor in You, a step-by-step guide to your first invention. He's a developer of more than 80 patents at Inventor Charles, guide-to-invention.com. We also want to say thank you to She's on Call, Sundays 11 a.m. to noon Eastern, and doctors and surgeons, Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar and Marina Kurian, host a fabulous show about COVID and so much more. And we also want to thank Muckrack Academy, Fundamentals of Social Media for journalists, PR pros, and everyone, a free on-demand certification course. Enroll today, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. And we also want to tell you that tomorrow I am helping host the Justice Aid Film Forum at justiceaid.org, streaming live at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. There are film prizes and so much more. Justice Aid Prize. Please tune in for that. And also tune in at noon on Thursday for Rise or Fall Together, the OneShared.world Interdependence Summit with His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Eric Garcetti, the mayor of LA, Renee Fleming, the famous opera singer, and so many more. My friend Jamie Metzel has put this together with others, and I'm proud that our team at Digimentors is producing it with them. And just thank you all for being here. Thank you for being great supporters of the show. Additional support also provided by please check out hotstar.com/US. And Rafiq says, thank you, Sree, another inspiring show. Thank you. Leah says, as always, that was a terrific program. Thank you, Leah. I'd love to have you on our show. So folks, please write to me if you'd like to be here, if you'd like to nominate others. We'd love to have you. And Amar Bird says, thank you. We appreciate our host and crew and sponsors. Thank you all for this achievement of great work. Wow. Thank you so much, Amar. What a beautiful note and a beautiful way to end this. If you are watching right now and you would like to know when we're on the air, one of the ways to do it, of course, is to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/SreeNet. Hit that subscribe button. Another way is by this QR code. And what that allows you to do is to get a gentle alert whenever I'm live on YouTube. Whenever I'm live, it's a WhatsApp alert. It's not a WhatsApp group. I promise you, you'll not be added to a group, and you can join and come in and out anytime. And it's a great way to keep in touch. Otherwise, Sree@Sree.net. We're always looking for new ideas, new collaborators, new ways to extend the reach of what we're doing. And we'd love to talk to you. So please email me, Sree@Sree.net.